Hi, I'm Bogdan Lazar from Romania, from VFX, and I'm doing this job for over 25 years, and both in game industry and film. And I want to show you today two showcases, short ones, and a bonus one, regarding new rigging system from Houdini called Apex, and the next one will explore the power of machine learning into skinning a biped character. I prepared two short movies that will, emphasize the effect of those new tools, and we'll start with that.
Que muy sentida y muy guajira alegre cantó. Me voy al transbordador a descargar la carreta. Me voy al transbordador a descargar la carreta para cumplir con la meta de mi pequeña labor. A caballo vamos pa'l monte, a caballo vamos pa'l monte, a caballo vamos pa'l monte, a caballo vamos pa'l monte. Tápate, maestro. Ahí viene Nicole.
Rigging, and the next one is for skinning. Okay, so starting with rigging. When first appeared the end of last year, Apex, when Houdini shipped Apex last year, and I saw it first time, I was like, oh my God, it's nice, but it's difficult. It's too technical, too many snakes, pythons inside it, and I will never be able to use it. And then I realized that it's kind of friendly, even friendlier than the previous system, and could help an artist without knowledge of Python or of course it helps, but if you don't have it, you can use it and can build decent rigs, decent complex rigs, let's say. But why you should do that? Mainly because it's fast, and speed is the holy grail for an animator. I mean, when we animate, we need speed, we need to iterate fast, and when we adjust minor movements, we don't want to make endless play blasts, so we need speed in the viewport. And there's a comparison with a rig that we did long ago, last year. It's a bare rig done in KineFX, and this on the right side is the Apex solution. And as you can see, it's real time. Even if you try scroll in the play bar, or if you play, it doesn't matter. The complexity of both those rigs is the same. I mean, same number of bones, same IK solution, FK solutions, but the difference is big. It's even better when you work in the viewport. As you can see, when you drag a control in the old KineFX, it takes a while to update. Not the same. We cannot say the same about the Apex. It's really doesn't care how big the rig is, doesn't care how, I don't know, how many bones or how many rules the rig has. It's amazingly fast. And for that, I said, okay, it worth the hassle to learn whatever they ask us to learn, C++, you name it. But the good news is that, okay, what I will try to show today is that really it's easy and it will be nothing fancy, no hidden components, or it's only, I will only use pre-built components that they are shipped with Houdini. But first let's explore why Apex is fast and why KineFX is slow. KineFX rig, it's a classical rig, has, let's say, 3 columns. The left column is the skin column where you skin the rig, where you define the skin. Then you have the rest skeleton and you have the animation skeleton, which is exactly like this rest skeleton, but you apply rules on it. And here lies the problem. The problem is that animation and the rig logic resides in the same place. And because it's in the same place, it makes things slow. The main node for animation in KineFX is rig pose. And the rig pose do everything for you. Do interpret the rig logic, do the animation, and that's not good. And what they did, they separate the rig logic from the animation, and to be more, I don't know, to make an example, more down to earth, what does mean. Imagine that you want to make a theatrical play. What you will do first, you will write the script for the theater play. Then you will find actors and you will try to find the location where you will stage your play, and that's the animation. So the rig logic is the script of the play, and the animation is the actual staging the play. And in the old system, is like actors write their own lines in a time that they said their lines, so it was a mess. And to exemplify that even easier, imagine that this horse have all the animation needed, and when we add a component, a logic, for example, FK logic, this logic starts to take place. Like add spine logic, spine begins to move. Add neck logic, neck begins to move. And this is incredibly powerful because you can finish an animation, or the animation department finish an animation, send it back to the rigging department, and rigging discovers some mistakes that they made in their rig and adjust it without affecting and without destroying the animation of the artist, animated artist. And that's really powerful. You can take them out, take them in. Nothing is destroyed, nothing is lost. And opens a lot of possibility of modularity and procedural character rigging. So I take them all and he will froze in the end. I will show you later that this is live, it's not only an animation, you can do that live in Houdini. Okay, so the plan for the rig, it's simple. I didn't want to make nothing fancy, just to do a quadruped. And the basic quadruped, as I see it, should have a neck, a spine, a head, a tail, and the spine and the neck are spine IKs. I said, okay, that's the best solution for I want to have a realistic rig, to have all the vertebrae moving, so I need a lot of bones that will align for the spine, for the neck, IK solution for the lower part of the legs, and FK solution for the top of the legs. And in Houdini, things are like this. In the left side with the green or whatever, I don't see colors very well, so I don't know exactly what color is that. That's the skin. The blue or purple or whatever is the rig. And the rig, it's you build the rig exactly as you build it in KineFX, separate elements, neck, spine, legs, and then put them all together. We keep it procedural, that's why we do it like this. The only difference for the Apex is the fact that you need a second rig, which is called guide rig, and this rig will be a placeholder for all the controls that will drive your animation, your skeleton. So you build this skeleton too. For the skinning part, is nothing fancy. I just bioharmonic capture the rib cage. All the parts that should have a slight deformation, I bioharmonic capture them, like the ears, which are not bones, but I decided to put them as a bone. And the rest, which are fixed, I just simply parented them to the bones, to the actual skeleton bones. And we have three components: the skin, the rig, and the guide pose, the guide rig, and those are packed in one folder and prepared to enter the Apex realm. So here we have, as you already saw, all the components as a form of component nodes. And those nodes are predefined by Houdini, so you shouldn't program anything. Of course you can, but you can do it without it. Just click and try to find the auto rig component, choose a rig logic, for example, transform, FK transform, populate your parameters which are created automatically with names, and that's it. Now I choose as IK transform, different parameters appear, different names I should put in, and that's it. The scene will be attached to this presentation so you can explore it by yourself, but that's the way you should do it. You should just add FK joints, specify which joints you want to have for these FK joints, and that's it. Then you go to the next one. The good thing is that once you are on a node, you can test it in viewport. You enter in a state that allows you to test the rig and see how the rig function. And that's, again, very nice. And at every stage of your process of developing the rig, you can test it and adjust it and see, maybe not this bone will be a FK, maybe this bone will be. So you can go back and forth to adjust your rig, add the spine IK. Here I put every vertebra in there to know which bones will be vertebrae. And then I choose which are the tangents of this spine, which are not, which are the roots and the tips. Basically, for control, a root tangent, a tip, and a tip tangent. Same solution for the neck. Only different bones, different name bones. For IKs, you have the options to use naming, like predefined names with left and right tokens, and use those tokens to tell the system, this is the left leg, this is the right leg. It's not necessary for you to do a node for each leg or a node for each part of the body, for the left or for the side. I choose to have the stern IK or the chest IK the same like the arm and legs. Then you tell the system to read the geometry that you already bind it to the skeleton, and you can now see the geometry in action. You do your controls with this different node called configure controls. Those controls you can build them in the software you love. I love Houdini, so I build them in Houdini. So I'll put it here. And that's about it. That's it. No more. If you know it, it's a 10-minute work. And you have a character, you pack it, and you name it, and you have a character which this time it's only a VGeo. It's a simple geo that you can save it like that. You don't need to pack it as an asset with a lot of parameters and a lot of logic. Everything is in there. Anytime you load from this object, and you will click on the viewport, all the controls will appear, and you can start working with it. And now I showed how I deactivate most of the parameters and only keep the FK joints active. Take the animation node which is the yellow one, the round yellow one, update the animation node, hit play, and of course only those bones are moving, the other ones are dead. I can make an adjustment, then I can go back and activate the spine, the neck, and the torso, re-update, and it's working. And that's something that in my whole career of these whatever years I never encounter. Sorry to say, but it's the first time. I'm like a child. I'm totally excited about that. You can take these skeletons and export them for the rest of the world, like Maya or as FBX, or even for Houdini in a different format, classical formats, in such a way that you can go and simulate crowds or you name it. I did this for a muscle simulation. The muscle simulation is not the subject of these discussions, but is a good bridge for the next part of the presentation, which will be the skinning. Okay, so skinning. I train my model with a male body, but I use a female body to showcase it only to emphasize the fact that once you train a model, you can use it in with different characters. But let's start from the beginning. So let's go back to school and remember a little bit what's this deformation, rigging, skinning, it's all about. There are three major solutions for that: weight painting, corrective blend shape, and muscle system. Weight painting is the oldest one, is the father of all, and means to paint weights over the points of a skin, and they are influenced by each bone. The problem with the weight painting is that it's tedious to process. You got to hand paint everything. You got to it's time consuming, and it's especially with complex rigs where the downside of weight painting is not very realistic. If you want to make a realistic character, it won't be enough to use only weight painting. So if you want to use only weight painting, you should add more and more bones for different parts of the body. And this increases the complexity of the rig and the amount of work. The corrective blend shapes are a collection of sculptures made by artists, which are triggered by certain joint angles and correct the mesh deformation at a certain position. The challenges or the downside of this method is the fact that you need a lot of well-trained artists, sculptures, and not one, but many, because you need a lot of corrective blend shape for the whole character. So it's labor intensive, increases the complexity of the rig because you got to make relationship between the angles of the bones and the skins that will be shown at a certain angle. Muscle system are, let's say, the most realistic one, but they are hard to build. They require a deep understanding of anatomy. Their good part is that they show subtle movements that, like the muscle running out under the skin or bulging, and of course, might be the best solution for high-end productions. But because you need to simulate, because there are physical simulation systems, where you have a simulation, you will have a second simulation, you will have a third simulation. One simulation goes to another, you never end, you'll never be happy. Only when the producer comes and says, stop it, you will stop. Okay, so where we can apply the machine to do that for us? To corrective blend shapes or to muscle system. Today we will apply it to corrective blend shape, but there is an example, I will show you a link to it. It's an example on Houdini website, the example that was the base for this demonstration, which is more focused on muscle systems. Why machine learning? Because machine learning, it's consistent, and once you train it once, you work once, you do all this sculpture once, and then you start to apply the same deformation to different characters, even different projects. Of course, if you train a biped and you want to apply the deformation of a goddess with 8 hands, it won't apply. You should have the same number of hands and legs, but you can reuse it. Second thing is that machine is happy with a lot of polygons. We are not, but they are, or it are. I don't know how to say that. For us, 10,000 polygons, it's decent, but 10 millions is crazy. For them, it's not crazy at all. They love it, but they only stay longer, but that's it. And the outcome is that real-time feedback, it's important. You can use that in Unreal. Once you train a model, you can apply it in real-time software for games and for animators in classical movie production. They can use a nice character rather than to use, I don't know, a puppet, a proxy character that resembles the actual character, but is not the actual character. Now you can see the character, how it looks like, how it behaves, and so on and so forth. So, blend shapes, how they work. You have an angle from a bone. You move this bone and you trigger some sculptures on different parts of the bone. And that's all about it. At angle 90, you trigger the sculpture for the 90, and that's it. But you got to do that for all the joints in the body, and that's become difficult. Why should do that? Because, for example, on the right side, you can see the black and white 3D leg that is bending with bone weights and looks like a tube, doesn't have volume, doesn't have anything, it's just bending, and that's the bending with weights. Bending with corrective shapes, it keeps its volume. Also add some fine detail in the movement of the muscle, and the complex movement of the patella, the kneecap, which is going like crazy from under the bone to above the bone, could be reproduced using corrective shapes, and we can achieve something more realistic than simple weight painting. In the lower left bottom, we have a section to the leg, and you will see with red, you will see the bone weights deformation. Let's call it a bad deformation. With yellow, it's a good deformation. The difference between the good deformation and the bad deformation is actually this contour, this yellow contour. That's what we should train. That's the data that machine learning should learn for us. And we only bend it with weights, and the machine came and adds the yellow difference, and we call it displacement. To do that, we need, in our case, 64 corrective blend shapes for major joints like hip, knees, shoulders, so on and so forth. I didn't do that manually, of course, for this example. I tried to find a source to have a character with all these blend shape, just for the sake of see if the system works. And I discovered this software called DAZ, which is free and available, and have a decent character that you can access, and with blend shapes embedded into it. And I said, okay, that's a good solution to have data for my training system. Of course, when you build something, you will use your tools, and you will work, and you will generate everything. Luckily, this does have an ML exporter, which is exports, in our case, 10,000 poses, random poses. All those poses are deformed correctly, more or less, and outputs to files, an FBX with all the skeletons in all the positions, all 10,000, and an ABC file, an Alembic file for the skins. And now we should take those elements, I mean the skeleton and the skin, and prepare them, twist them in such a way that machine learning should understand. So if you watch this graph from left to right, we will slowly lose track and lose understanding. I mean, until the middle of this graph, we might understand what happens. When we go closer to the end, it might be problematic, but still I will try to make it simple. First, we need a rest skeleton, then a skeleton pose, then the rest skin, of course, and then the animated skin, and prepare those. We should prepare the skeleton by calculating the limit of rotations for the bones to not go overhead. Then we should pack all the poses into one big furry ball of poses, and we should simplify the skin, get rid of polygons and keep only the points, because points mean something for computer, polygons mean something for us. For computer doesn't mean anything. And once we have correct skeletons and correct skins, we build two models, the weighted skin and the pose skin. Let's call the bad skin and the good skin. The good skin is the pose skin and have correct deformation, and the bad skin is the weighted skin, is the skin with weights. And make the difference, remember from the previous slide, this yellow line is the displacement or the difference between those two skins, and is represented like a nebula, or I don't know, something like that, because it's normalized to 0, 1. And we prepare the displacement, which is our bread and butter. The displacement contains the skeleton in the correct position and the skin, the displaced skin. Then we go into the mumbo-jumbo realm, which is component tuples, displacement, flat, displacement, subspace, linear, encoded poses. Sounds nice, actually. But, and if you tell it to your parents, they will say, oh, so smart, my son is. Component tuples are a collection of weights, which are like rules for the neurons to know where the threshold, where the limit is. Displacement flat and displacement subspace are simplified version of this displacement, because displacement contains millions of points and it's too hard for them to learn. So using a principal component analysis, which is a new node in Houdini, you can extract the necessary patterns from the whole displacement to reduce the data to something much simple. So the displacement from the left side, it's 60 million points or something, and the displacement subspace is 60,000. And the last square, the one from the top and bottom is the skeleton in a machine learned fashion. Actually, that's the skeleton. That's how the skeleton should look like for the machine to understand. It's a transformation from a matrix space to a linear space. Instead of having a 3x3 matrix, because we only train rotation, we will have 2x2, a 2-axis skeleton that looks like that. Then we export two formats, raw targets, raw inputs, and those are the ones who go into machine. That's the way the directory should look like. The gray folders will appear when you start the training. You don't have those folders at the beginning. They will appear when you start the training, and that's where you find your train models. You have the file, and you need to have this Python file put inside the HIVE directory for everything to work. That's the example that you should explore further, which is located on SideFX site at Content Library, and it's amazing, if you ask me, game-changing. And let's see how to implement that in Houdini fast, because I want to have time to show you something really special. So I copied this scheme that I showed you before, and I tried to organize the node inside the scene exactly like that. So order of execution is from left to right and top to bottom. First you import the data, then you prepare the data, then you calculate the displacement, and then you prepare the data for machine learning. You have a control, main control, where you can say this. How many poses is working? Huh? How many poses you have? This is the what does outputted to us: 10,000 skins in crazy position, 10,000 nervous skeleton. Okay, the 10,000, it's the entry level. You should really use 15,000 to have better results. But for this simple task, for this simple skeleton, you shouldn't need so much. Here we calculate the rotation limits using only Houdini nodes, motion clip and configure joint limits. It do that for us automatically because we have a lot of material to calculate. It's not necessary for you to go manually and say, this joint will only rotate from here to here. It does that for you. Then you prepare the skin, which is simple. You just get rid of polygons, keep on the points, apply weights, and that's it. We're good to go further on. Then we have the generated poses, and we index them. Basically, we put names to them. Pose number 1, pose number 2, pose number 3, because they don't have names, and we need for the machine to identify which pose is which. And that's all here. And we have everything to make the displacement. We put together the skin and the skeleton with each skin with each pose. Then we calculate the displacement by comparing the bad skin with a good skin. Again, bad skin, good skin. Make the difference, which looks like that. Put the difference together with the skeleton. And that's our displacement for each pose. We can tumorize our friends by applying the displacements over the T-pose, and looks like that. Then we prepare for machine learning. This is the encoding from matrix to linear. Each point is a rotation, but a component of a vector rotation. Each point is rotation X, rotation Y, rotation Z. Here we use the principal component analysis node to reduce the number of points in the displacement to be easier for machine to process it. And that's a new node in Houdini. Basically, here you just write down on disk whatever node is black. You go there and set write on disk, and that's it. It should. If you want to explore further, of course, you can explore, but depends on everybody if they want or not. Then export everything as raw targets, which are necessary for the machine. And then you go to tops, where you load all the things that you exported, mainly the raw inputs and raw targets, and create the virtual environments for the Python to know, to put its repositories. And then you have two elements called hidden layers and regularization, and that's the only thing you should know about training, at least as a beginner. What are those? And for this, I have a short video, which I won't talk too much about it. Imagine that a machine learning model is a company, and the hidden layer is one department of the company, and the hidden layer 2 is another department. The blue dots are the neurons, the people who work in that department, and you can decide how many departments you want in your company to process your data. More hidden layers you have, better results you will have, but longer time to process. Regularization levers down in the bottom part of the animation are the So one of the problems when you have a lot of hidden layers is you have a risk to create a noise or to overfit, to overtrain your model, and that creates noise in your geometry. So the yellow dots that's spinning down there are the noise created by many layers, and the blue line is a smooth function that applies over those points to calm down the craziness from the training. So regularization levels helps you into, it's a trade-off between how many layers you have and how many regularization levels. And you can define that here. The first black node is responsible for hidden layers, and the next one is responsible for the regularization level. And that's it. Then you click play and wait a night for 2 layers, or 24 hours for 3 layers, or a week for 4 layers. Go throw a party and come back and load the results using the Onyx model. When you make the training, I choose to have 8 iteration of this model. I mean, each regularization level and each hidden layer to be saved, to debug it and apply it, and that's what's happening. It deforms correctly, instantly, in real time, no fuss, no nothing. Could be fed to the animator, and he could work with it very nicely. And now if I have 3 minutes, if you guys give me 3 more minutes, I can show you another application for the machine learning, which might be more practical or even more helpful. Yeah, so you see the knee moves correctly. You can put it into superhero poses, and the deformation are nice. I mean, you don't have any tubular type of deformation. So what if we can apply this to clothes? The thing is that whenever you have a skin and a bone, you can train it. Look what's happening with this. You train it and you take the bone and you move it, and the clothes is deforming in real time without physical simulation, without interacting with the skin. I love the way that the t-shirt goes up the neck without knowing that the neck is there, because there is no interaction between them. It's only what it learns from training. So you can train a shirt and then apply the same training over tons of clothes which are kind of similar. And that's it. You can use that in games in real time and so on and so forth. To apply that in Houdini, you keep exactly the same system like before. The only thing you add is, instead of having a skin, you bring in rest pose for the clothes and the rest and you need to produce a lot of poses for the t-shirt, and you produce that with Vellum. We take the skeleton, make a short animation between the T pose and the deformed pose, keep only the body that will interact with it, prepare the t-shirt, and then simulate with the Vellum solver and simulate 10,000 positions like that, save them on disk, feed them into system to start with, and you're done. You have a model for clothes. That's about it. Thank you.
An exciting area in Houdini for sure, KineFX and Apex. Amazing. Thanks for sharing that.
Thank you.
We don't have any time for Q&A, but
No problem.
Bogdan will be around, so absolutely ask him questions outside.
Thank you.
Everyone.